Hey everyone, Tactics here, and in this video I'm going to be going through the first 7 bosses of the new raid Sepulcher of the first ones on both normal and heroic difficulty, focusing on things more important to tanks, such as boss positioning, defensive usage, and the tank mechanics and how to handle them. And there's actually quite a few pretty interesting tank mechanics in this raid, so there's going to be a lot to talk about there. This is going to be a 2-parter, seeing as the last 3 bosses aren't even released yet, and personally I haven't pulled Anduin on heroic yet, kind of saving that until Monday to see if there's any other changes to the fight, and I don't want to give any misinformation out in this guide, so stay subscribed to the channel, or be subscribed if you're not, to be notified when that video covering those last 4 bosses gets posted. Now, before getting into this video fully, I did just want to share something super quickly exciting for me coming up next week. You may have seen it on Twitter, but actually I'm going to be casting the upcoming Race to World First event here for Method. So a fantastic opportunity. I'm really looking forward to it. It's my first time casting. A little bit nervous, of course, but I'm excited. It's going to be fun. So make sure you guys check that out starting next Wednesday. About March 8th, March 9th. March 9th, Wednesday, March 9th, over on the Method Twitch channel. So be sure to check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, now let's, I got a raid plan. I got a couple VODs for me pulled up here. So these are my VODs on Twitch. Check me out, Tactics on Twitch. But let's just start off with the first boss here, Vigilant Guardian. So there are these 3 dudes spread out around the room, and this is basically to just kind of help you with your shielding. And this is going to kind of, you're going to have so much downtime on this fight, to be completely honest with you. Like, there's a ton of time where nothing is spawning and you're just kind of AFK, especially if you have higher DPS. So you just want to focus on the one that kind of stands up and does a shield. You can see right here, I believe it's always the same order, right, middle, left here. In that order they activate. And you just want to be relatively close to the one that's active, because when this core temperature fills up to 100%, your entire raid needs to be in there. So just having adds nearby kind of forces your raid to be near the safe area. In terms of what you're dealing with as a tank here, let's just play a little bit. The tank ads are going to come in here in a second. You've basically got 1 sentry ad in this here. This guy right here. Initially you have 1, and then as the fight kind of progresses, you'll have 2 spawn very close together. All these guys have is at 50 energy. You see 2 spawning there. It'll put this debuff on you. It's like a cosmic damage hit, and then it gives you the stacking debuff. Honestly, the hit doesn't do that much damage, and these are the priority target anyway, so they should die before you get 2 stacked up. Not really a big worry there. When there's 2, just make sure 1 on each tank. You're good. At 100 energy, you'll see here in a second, it'll do a frontal line attack, and that, just make sure you're faced away from the raid. There it is. Oh, that's not it. This line right there. You'll see another one in a second, probably here from the other ad. It's just 1 single line. Backing up, here it is. Here it is. That line, that single line. This stuff is all the raid stuff. That single line, that's the frontal on the tank for these ads. Pretty easy to avoid. Just make sure it's not pointed at the raid and you're good. That's literally all you care about in this ad phase, which is like, you know, 50 to 60% of the fight, honestly. Skipping forward a little bit. Here we go. A little bit less than that. All right. Boss comes out. Don't be under him when he's rolling out. It is a one-shot. And he also has a frontal type attack. I'll show you in a second. But basically just face him right against the wall. Perfectly good spot. Again, at 50 energy here, he will do his stacking tank buster. It's like the exact same thing as the sentry, but like juiced up a little bit. So it's bigger hit. Taunt at 1 stack here. You see? Pneumatic impact. That's what it's called. Didn't really notice because Brewmaster things. And you just taunt off. And you know, we're just waiting for the next one. At 100 energy is that little tank frontal again, and it's going to be a little different because it will shoot out in all directions. So you'll see here, it shoots out in like a hexagon pattern. There's split resolution all over around me in a circle, and then in a few directions as well. So that's why you want to face away from the raid, but the raid will still need to dodge a couple lines as well. But that is literally it for this boss. At 15%, he doesn't even auto anymore, so you can go full damage mode. I'm pretty sure I'm holding like CDs and stuff for it as well, so it's a pretty easy boss, honestly. All right, let's move on to Skolex, guys. So number 1 thing here, this wormy boy, he is stationary while you're tanking him. Just show it quickly on raid plan. So he is like, I think he starts like there ish. He's stationary when you're tanking him, so if you leave melee, of course, like all those stationary bosses, he'll just start murdering people. So tanks need to be in melee, and he will splash his melee attacks as well within 10 yards. So tanks also need to be kind of close to each other during the melee time. There is a tank combo, which is targeted attacks on normal, but it is a frontal cone attack on heroic and higher. So on heroic and higher, you'll need to be just spread out a little bit during the tank combo and then come back together so you can splash the melee attacks again. Otherwise, one tank's going to get constantly double hit by the melees. So here it is. We're going to look at the tank combo. Basically, it's made up of one bleed, which lasts for like 40 seconds, something really long. It's like 45 seconds. And so that means it'll last through the next tank combo, which means that how you want to plan it out is that one tank takes the bleeds of the like odd combos, so like the first, the third, the fifth combo, and the other tank takes the bleeds for the even combos, second, fourth, sixth, that kind of deal. And that way you're never going to get your bleeds refreshed from the second combo. For example, if you took it in the first combo, or if you're splitting the bleeds, right, then that's going to get one person's going to get refreshed on the next combo. The second ability is a magic hit, pretty substantial damage, and it has a very large amp on the debuff for a short duration, which basically means that you can't take two back to back. But for example, if the combo is 3 of those magic hits, called Rift Maw, by the way, if you have 3 Rift Maws as your combo, there is enough time for the first tank can take the first hit, the second tank taunts off, takes the second hit, and the first tank can taunt back, and their debuff will drop off before the third hit actually impacts. So it's a relatively short debuff. You just basically can't take 2 back to back. This combo did appear to be kind of completely random, so you can get any combination of the 2 debuffs, so you kind of need to be on your toes. It is important to know that the boss will turn mid-cast when you taunt, so you can wait and see what the next debuff is before taunting and getting hit by whatever debuffs. You don't need a pre-taunt here at all. Basically, how we handled this is that one tank would take the bleeds, like I mentioned, one on first, third, fifth, the other second, fourth, sixth, etc. And you want to make sure that the tank taking the bleeds is the one tanking the boss going into that combo. And that basically ensures that you will be able to take all the bleeds, and also you won't get your co-tank murdered by a double Rift Maw because of taunt being on CD. And so basically what happens is, you know, they can take any Rift Maw. If there's a Rift Maw back to back, then the other tank needs to taunt. If it's a Rift Maw then bleed, then that tank is fine to hold the boss. If it's Rift Maw bleed, that tank just holds the boss the whole time, for example, and then the other tank taunts at the end, that kind of deal. So you just need to adjust based on what the combo actually is. But again, my recommendation, alternate who's taking the bleeds in each combo, alternate who's taking the Rift Maw hits within each combo, and then just make sure the tank actually who's planning to take the bleeds within each combo is the one starting the tank job when the combo begins, if that makes sense. So you can hear the combo coming off in a couple seconds here. There it is, starting with a Rift Maw. Another Rift Maw, so he taunts off immediately. And then it's bleed there. Which I probably should have taunted back there, honestly, but it's not the end of the world for that in particular, because I think we're about to cleanse anyways. Yeah, and then here's the cleansing. So to actually move this boss, to clear all of your dust stacks, the entire raid, including tanks, needs to stack up here. Needs to stack up here. And then the boss will move once everyone's actually here. Big. And that's how it works. And so again, on heroic, because the boss will splash on normal too, but because the tank abilities are cones, the raid needs to kind of get away from the tank side of the boss, and we kind of just designated that. No tank movement here, but definitely tank positioning is important. And the reason why we do that during the Wretch casts, the stack up, is because, again, everyone's running out of melee, and he will just start murdering people if people are out of melee too long, like you saw there. So that is Skolex. Kind of interesting tank mechanics here. I enjoyed it. It was something better than just taunt at X stacks, 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. So I liked it. It was a fun little fight. Not allowed to cat weave as a Guardian Druid though, of course, because of the splashing melee attacks. But you know, it is what it is. It's an interesting fight. Next up here we have Dausegne. I actually still don't know how to pronounce that name. Let me know. I have no idea. Oh, there it is. Easy skip. Okay, so the tank debuff here is just kind of the stacking little dot. And when it expires, it deals raid damage based on how many stacks you have. So you see here I have a couple stacks right now. We were normally just taking this up to 5. Anywhere between like 4 and 6 is like perfectly fine, honestly, though. It's really not that much damage. The main problem is when it overlaps with another mechanic. Like, you don't want the detonation popping during the rings, for example. So you just want to kind of time that. If you need to, take an additional stack to kind of extend the duration so you don't blow up too early, that kind of deal. On top of that, you're going to get an ad spawn. Let me see if I can get an ad spawn real quick. All right, and 2 seconds. So these ads are going to spawn, and you just keep them close to the boss so you can cleave it down pretty quickly. They are going to be the priority target here. They just have a kick. You want to interrupt Domination Bolt, and they will intermittently just kind of throw these puddles on the ground. And these are obviously area denial. Right there they are, area denial. And they're also pretty hard ticking, so you'll want to avoid those. And that's why we're kind of positioned on the edge here, so that we can get all those puddles down on the ground near the edge of the room. You may not want to be this close to the edge there. You can walk off this edge, of course, and it can make the cone a little bit hard to dodge for range if they're not positioned correctly. So just keep that in mind. But we want to keep those puddles definitely away from the center of the room 100%. So always towards the edge, at least, if not on the edge. This is just kind of the ramping damage. Nothing to talk about. Tanks here. Just, you know, do damn to the boss. Free to cat weave if you want. The only other thing we need to talk about are the rings coming up here. So there are the orbs actually going out. So you can see here, this orb right here is flying into triangle first. That means that this pylon is the one that's going to erupt with the ring first, because that orb went into that one first. So here the other orb right there, and it goes into this 1 second. Obviously there's only 2 up right now, so that was obviously, it had to be that 1 second. But I've seen a lot of people saying, oh yeah, it's in the order they were corrupted in. Does not have to be. It can be in any order. You need to look at those orbs floating into the pylons, and that happens about 10 seconds before the actual ring cast is when she starts shooting those orbs into the pylon. So watch those orbs. That's the pylon you want to position near first. So you see we're moving over here. This is coming out first because we know this pylon is shooting first. Then we're waiting for our dot to fall off. Dot's gone. Go through the next ring. And then obviously that gets trickier the longer this fight goes, right? If you're getting to 3 or 4 pylons, you're getting 3 or 4 sets of rings, and that gets very scary. You need to watch very closely where the orbs are flying, in what order, someone in your raid does at least, and call out which pylon to get towards first, second, third, fourth, except whatever, how many pylons you have up in the correct order. Okay, Xy'mox. We're missing Xy'mox. Let's go over to him. I have him somewhere. Here? Yes. Okay. So we've got Xy'mox. All right. So the active tank in this will always get the dimensional tear and then one other random person. For us, we always place this. So there it is. We always place this one in the center, one far, and this one would rotate clockwise around the room as we fill this area with traps. Note that on heroic, traps will reappear a few seconds after you soak them. So if you like immunity soak them, they won't go away permanently. On normal, they will. On heroic, they won't. So no reason to ever soak traps on heroic. And that's why we kind of move that other rift around the edge here as needed. So Spark Nova is a spread. We're just waiting now for the rings to come out. So we're going to see here in a second here, but all the rings in P1 happen the same. And you'll see here the animation I'll show you. So in phase 1, you see here, where is it? This thing in the center coming out. There's the ring. So it's going down. That means the ring is going to come out from the center. And then you take that one on the outside to come back in. When the ring is going upwards, it does the opposite. So it comes from the outside and moves to the inside. I'll show you that in a second as well. In phase 1, which is 100 to 75%, it always comes out from the inside of the room to the outside. And you'll see here, our reset position is going to be over here. And that's where you should be chilling for the first phase, just towards the outside of the room so you don't have anyone die to that initial ring coming out. The second phase is the opposite, right? You're always going to have the ring coming from the outside to the middle, so you want your raid a little bit more closer towards the middle. Obviously, range don't want to be baiting outside for traps, but then just coming in when the ring's coming inwards. And then in phase 3, it's a combo, and it can be any order. And I'll show you that in a second as well. This mechanic, though, let's talk about this for a second. Glyph of Relocation normally overlaps with the rings in some capacity. So as you can see in this one, we'll see in a second here, it's going to come just as the ring is leaving. So there's not much of an impact, but of course that gets a little bit spicy in the third phase, which again, I'll show you guys in a second here. But this is just kind of what you're dealing with in the first and the second phase. Basically, as soon as you need to use the portal, about 4 or 5 seconds later, the tank detonation will go off, and this one does grip everyone to the tank's location and does fall off damage. So you see here, I get the bomb, I go over towards square, grip everyone there, does fall off damage, so it does a little bit less damage, and then the range is going to spread out because of this hyperlight and trap spawns to bait traps on the edge of the room. So that's what we're doing there. Just get some distance from your raid, not too far, because you don't want to put traps all the way like over here, for example, and you don't want to grip anyone through traps, because if I had gone over towards orange, it grips them there, and if you get gripped through a trap, you get stuck in the trap. And we're just going to do it again. This one I don't believe has a tank combo. Yeah, it's every other will have a tank combo. Then you get to the ad phase. So in this ad phase, there are 2 ads you need to worry about. Acolyte 1, one tank picks them up, always spawns right there. Acolyte 2, same, but directly across right over here. One tank, always pick up each, and just group them up right here. Artificer is immune, don't worry about him. He still takes damage, I believe, so I think some people maybe can cheese him for some CDR. Accidentally walking through the portal there, perfect play, absolutely fantastic. These Acolyte mobs, so they have this frontal attack, right? They're fully stunnable, though, so what we actually do is we have a rogue assigned to each one, and they just kind of kidney them, CC them, never let those frontals go off, and you have to kill them before that ascension finishes, otherwise they turn into Archons and your whole raid just kind of dies from the damage. So they're definitely the focus there. These spellslingers can just be kicked in by anyone, and you do them after, but basically just trying to group those ads ASAP so people can get big cleave damage, particularly those Acolytes, and then face them away just in case you're not able to stop one of the casts. So this is the second phase, and like I mentioned here, we're going to turn 16 seconds. Okay, let's move forward a little bit. See those rings? And phase 2, rings always coming from the outside. So again, you want see there it is, it's going up. That means it's coming from the outside. And so we kind of hang out here. Note this is much wider than it appears, so be extra safe. Let it come in a little closer, then you go after when it's super safe. Jumps out. That was the wrong direction, but yeah, basically you just jump out over here. Let's look at the last phase kind of stuff. It's definitely a little scuffed. Where is it? Okay, so here's the wormholes in the last phase. Ad phase is the same. It's after 50% is the second intermission. And you'll see how you have to handle the rings here. So you get a combo now, and it can be any combination of coming from the center or outside. I believe it's twice back to back. I don't think it's 3 times. I believe it's twice. So let's see here. It's coming out in a second. You'll get rings. So again, watch this relic in the center. And we see it's coming down. It's coming out of the center. So everyone gets to the outside. Wait for that to come out. We go in. And you watch the relic again. Coming from the center again. So I also have the tank bomb. So I run over towards this thing. It grips the entire raid over to me. And they can step right through the portal there. Now I have heard that you're able to grip people through this ring without them dying. That didn't work on PTR. It would insta-kill people, but I've heard it's a thing on live. Personally, I haven't tested. Personally, so I don't know if that's true or not. But maybe something to think about, right? Because if I had stepped through the portal there, I probably could have just gripped everyone through the ring to safety, assuming that works, of course, or through to their deaths if it doesn't work. Right, but basically, raid kind of stacks up. It's going to be pretty close, right? You see there was a decent amount of raid damage there. Probably pretty good to commit stacked DRs. Anything like, even like Spirit Link Darkness would be not bad there. Barrier, obviously, Rally, obviously all good there. I don't think we didn't use any of our CDs for that. I think we were probably supposed to, but we didn't. But so basically, tank only gets a little bit of distance because they want to be right near the wormhole that'll teleport people to safety. Because if I had been over here or like anywhere not near the wormhole, everyone would get gripped to me and they wouldn't be able to get through this ring and then they would die, right? So you need to grip them to the wormhole that you want to traverse through, and then you'll be good. And this will just keep happening. And again, it's only every other set of rings. So that's Xy'mox. It's definitely really interesting fight. It's fun. I liked it a lot. not too complicated. Definitely seems like a lot at first glance, but it's pretty simple, right? You just have the raid stack outside so they're not going to get hit by the ring, or way over here if it's coming from the outgoing in, and then they stack some sort of CD so they don't all die, and then the tank pulls them a shorter distance to the next wormhole that will give them safety. And that's pretty much how you deal with that combo in the last phase. Moving forward, Pantheon. Let's go to Pantheon. Pantheon. All right. Not pulling the boss. There we go. Boss is pulled. Okay. So here, basically, let me raid plan this one. Beneficial probably, just to show you guys. So you've got the Kyrian lady there, the Necrolord dude there, Night Fae lady there, Denathrius there. So phase 1, you're fighting these two. Phase 2, you're fighting these two. Phase 3, all 4. Now, only 2 of them have tank busters. That's the Kyrian lady and Denathrius. Denathrius is just the same frontal cone. So it's that 25% damage taken increase. And it's just a shadow damage frontal attack. So make sure no one's in front of the boss. Swap out 1 stack. Kyrian lady, it's a big physical hit, and it radiates 30% of the damage you took to the entire raid. Again, taunt at 1 stack here, so it makes it pretty simple. When they're both up in the last phase, you just each tank 1. When you get 1 stack, you swap. Very, very simple there. Both these guys are just kind of casters, so I mean interrupts on them, and they move terribly, absolutely terribly. So, for example, in phase 2, when the spawns are here, we actually dragged Denathrius all the way over here, and we tank them over here because she just does not move, man. It's bad. So that's what we do with positioning initially in that phase. Anyway, so first phase though, this little ads this guy's going to spawn very quickly. So what we do right off the top is pull both bosses to here, and then the ad spawns, it just insta dies, and then we'll kind of spread out the room. So you'll see this is where they are right off the top. We're 10 seconds into the pull. Here are the ads. Yeah, so you see this ad just gets cleaved down super quickly. It's already in like things like wild spirits, that kind of thing. And then we slowly pull these ads, and you can see how bad these guys kind of move, right? The prototype of war. Not as bad as the Night Fae lady. Night Fae lady takes so long to move, but he's not good either, right? Trying to bullet over to these ritualists here. Meanwhile, we have a range going this way and this way, and we just kind of sit right here and continue cleaving them down relatively evenly. We focus a little bit more on the duty one because she'll fly away here in a second. That's just a pushback. You're just kind of dodging swirlies there. But the main thing is kind of the positioning in this phase after this. So depending on your DPS, you're definitely going to have the second set of ritualists spawn. Most likely, you're going to have that second set of ritualists spawn. The question is whether or not you kill them. So we actually have the damage where we don't need to kill them. So we end up, you'll see here in a second, just positioning these guys towards the edge of the platform when duty comes back. We're just dodging the swirlies there. And the boss positioning, here it is. Many weapons, cleaving. We're going to pull them away from the Necrolord. So here they are. We're going to completely ignore them because you can see they push at 50%. So we're a little bit behind on duty here. So we're just going to focus a little bit more damage into duty. And when we need to, we will push this guy before this death touch goes off. It was bugged when we killed this boss where the Kyrian things would insta despawn, so you would not be able to dispel, and you would just be perma stuck with the debuff, and that's bad. So that's why we pushed there. Obviously we didn't quite get them even. It's a couple extra percent, not the biggest deal, but that's the plan. We don't even need to do those Necrolord guys because they'll go away, and if you're getting close, you can go right to the edge here if you need to. Obviously our damage we didn't need to, but you can. Like I mentioned, in this next phase, you'll see here her movement. We tank them like right here. And I'll explain that in a second, the reasoning and the boss positioning exactly, because it does get, it is purposeful. So, you need to do like 2 interrupts before she even moves initially. Denathrius is already almost here, and we stack them up right here. So, the reason for this exact positioning. So, notice the bulk of the people are right here. That is because during Anima Storm, which doesn't start for 18 seconds, but she'll shoot tornadoes out from some point in her body. It's completely random. It can shoot out from here, 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 any of those areas. The problem is if it shoots out like here or here, like any of this inner areas, and the DPS are like between the bosses, they get clipped by it, and it's a bunch of extra raid damage you don't need to take. So that's why everyone's kind of stacked up over on Denathrius' foot. They'll still be able to cleave both bosses perfectly fine, but it'll let them dodge like 90% 50% of those Anima Storm damages. The other reason why we're so far up is because the healers want to be in range of the seeds here, which I'm not going to talk about. Healer mechanic, you know, tanks and healers. Are we going to unify, or are we just going to pick on the other one because, you know, DPS say we both don't matter? Who knows? But basically that's a healer mechanic, so not a thing. The other thing, of course, the frontal cone from Denathrius. Don't be in the frontal cone if you're not tanking Denathrius currently. That's the Anima Storm, right? So that one was fine. And you'll just see people kind of walk around it and then shift back in a position there because she does a bunch of them in a row. So that's the one you would want to be worried about. And you see there, we had a few people not reset back to their spots. And so they took a bunch of ticks from that. Now, Denathrius does have that hand grip in this phase as well. We'll see what we do there. And basically what happens is you need to spread because everyone will shit out like prideful debuffs. And that'll stun people and then also give you extra dot stacks, which is bad. Very, very bad. You want to avoid that as much as possible. So here it is, the grip in. To reduce the max damage, you just need to get out of this circle here. And then you're just dodging. Get knocked a little bit, you know. And then from here, we're just trying to regroup as fast as possible. And when you're regrouping here, you need to really watch where these animals are because you don't want to have these animals taking up too much of your space. So that's why you saw me come back here. Because if you rewind a little bit. How far? Not too far. There. If you rewind a little bit, you can see when I run out for this hand, there's animals all over the side of the room. Just all over it. And that's why you see me run back, because this is pretty clean, right? This is a pretty clean area. Look at all these animals over here, over here. It would be completely awful to tank the bosses in this side of the room. So we drop, I'm dodging, I'm getting hit by animals because, you know, skill. And then I'm coming all the way back because look at how clean this area is. Plenty of room for the raid to kind of be in range of seeds when they spawn in a second here. Be away from her because again, the boss position switched a little bit, but you can see everyone's kind of stacked up over by Denathrius, and most are avoiding renewal because that is a scary Anima Storm that spawns. Third phase, all this happens, but of course you have every single boss up, so it's the same deal. You just need to make sure you're not in the Absolution Cone when you're not tanking him. Swapping at one debuff. They do line up actually in this phase pretty close to the same time, if not the exact same time. So not too hard. You just always taunt off when your debuff goes off. Pretty much very easy. Just make sure. It's much harder to position the Anima Storms in this phase because again they're just so stacked. So it is what it is. Mainly just need to be a lot more careful and rolling that seed buff healers to make it a little bit easier to heal up and deal with. But yeah, it just gets super hectic in this phase. As you can see, there's just so much going on. There's, you know, tornadoes going. There were swirlies we had to dodge, knockbacks, tank debuffs. They both went off there at around the same time. So there's a lot going on. Just try and keep these guys as stacked as possible. Because on Heroic, you do need to kill them evenly. You have 20 seconds after you kill the first one to kill the last. Otherwise, they go back to 100% HP and enrage. On normal, I don't actually believe it matters. So you can actually just nuke one down on normal if you really want to. But it's not the end of the world. You can probably just cleave it down and kill one a little early. It's not a big deal either way. That's Pantheon, though. Next, Lihuvim. I got him in here. Pulling them around there it is. Okay, so moats are the main thing here. It doesn't go on tanks, it goes on ranged mostly, and some melee if you don't have enough ranged, and basically if anyone touches them they kind of detonate and they leave a puddle on the ground for the rest of the fight. So you see the moats here going out on the ranged. Basically there's a knockback that comes out, cosmic shift, so be positioned so you don't get knocked into the moats, and then we have those bombs. So let's just rewind just a little bit. Okay, so the deconstructing energy goes on the current tank always, and then one under random player. And basically when that blows up, it'll detonate and kill any of the undetonated moats, only undetonated moats, within the radius. I think it's like an 8-yard radius. It also gives you a 12-second physical damage taken increase, so it is 100% a taunt off, and that is the only taunt off in normal. That's the tank mechanic on normal. On Heroic, it also adds a tank combo. As you can see here, 14 seconds of tank combo. So you can run out, clear some moats. They die. These ones won't die. They're perma-stuck there. And then come back in. And then we have the tank combo, which is only a thing on Heroic. So basically this tank combo consists of 3 hits. a kinetic hit, which happens first and third, and then a sundering hit, which happens second. The kinetic hit is a 12-yard AoE hit on the current tank. It does physical damage, and then it makes you take additional cosmic damage by like 50%, I believe. Sundering is the complete opposite, so it's a 12-yard circle that deals cosmic damage and makes you take 50% more physical damage. And then kinetic happens again, same as the first one, 12-yard AoE, makes you take increased cosmic damage, and that's a physical hit. So you want to make sure that the tank that didn't have the debuff has the is taking first, just in case there's any overlap. I don't actually believe the debuff overlaps, so it doesn't actually matter that the initial deconstructing energy physical damage taking debuff, but it may on Mythic maybe, so good practice. So you'll see it here. You have this ring, you want to make sure you're in for it, and then you want to go at max range. So you see, I'm going to get the first one. There's the first circle. Melee need to be out there, other tank there. That's the second circle, and then I get the third. Now, this is not like Skolex. So the boss will not turn mid-cast and hit you with the ability. So, in fact, if you saw how quickly that happened there, let's just rewind real quick. You saw how quickly that happened there. You need to taunt while your tank friend is getting hit. Right, so he taunts mid-combo. As soon as it goes to him, I taunt back because it comes very quickly. Right, if you don't taunt quickly, the other tank's probably going to get hit by 2 back-to-back, and it's livable for sure. Especially on Heroic, it's livable if you pop a major defensive. But it's, you know, a bit spooky, of course, and you can just completely avoid that. So taunt while the other tank is getting hit, not after. Then, of course, position-wise, like I said, it's triangle. So melee stack, one tank, other tank, and then just slightly adjust when the first circle goes out, because the first circle has the most time, so the other tank can move it slightly, melee can move slightly, be right on the edge of it as well, and everyone should be good. The other thing here is now the ads on the side of the room. So the timing on Heroic, the way it works out is immediately after this second tank combo, which comes up in 10 seconds here, is you then run to the ad that you plan on killing with the boss, and that lets you kind of spread the motes out and be instantly on that ad. So you're going to see here, you have one more tank combo, and again, it's going to be the exact same. On me, he taunts mid-cast, I taunt back, well, it's mid-cast on him, and then here, we move. Instantly move. The ad we want to kill is over here. You always kill this ad. This is the Acquisitions Atoma, I believe. This is always the ad you want to kill. It does like a giant knockback and stuff. It's just, it's awful. So just always kill this ad. These motes come, you just spread them out in this area and ignore them forever. Nuke this guy, and then you run back in to the boss himself. So this guy's getting nuked. And then he won't spawn, you won't have to deal with it. Now on Heroic, the priority ad is always going to be this guy, Defense Matrix. I don't believe he spawns on normal, but look at what we're doing here. This is important. So we're ignoring these little ads and we're running straight across. And that's in the attempt to kind of group them up. You see some people were slow. That's why these two moved off. Everyone needs to be quickly gone here. That's why if they're not, you get this separation. If they are, all these mobs will be stacked. And that's the ideal play. Everyone runs across here. Someone will stun those to stop this cast here. I believe we have a Warlock stun assigned to it. Yep, so they're stunned, and they're going to walk in now. And then these two stragglers are doing weird things over here. They're not stacked up. So they walk in, and now everything's in, and we just cleave. This is just a big old cleave here. Focusing the defense matrix on Heroic, and just big cleave on normal. I believe the boss does take damage in this phase. Yeah, he is taking damage, so we could have been a little bit closer to Lihuvim there just to make sure we get some extra boss damage, but it's not necessary. He's pretty undertuned, to be completely honest with you. He's one of the easier bosses in the raid. So these ads will overlap a little bit, so just cleave them down with Lihuvim doing his mechanics. Just be careful, obviously, melee, not to get hit by, you know, things like the tank mechanic if it's coming out. Just be a little bit careful. But this is the exact same phase, and then you're going to see us do the exact same thing. This time, the ad we're killing is over here. 2 tank combos, then we move all the way across from to the ad, kill it, run across, and try and group up the little guys, and just get them all together and AoE them down. But yeah, most of the tank stuff is in that combo. So just try and get that combo right, and you'll be good and safe. Honestly, not too dangerous as a tank player. And that gives us Halondrus. Alright, so tank mechanic here, light shatter beam. There it is already casting. So it's just a big old frontal line on the tank. Big old frontal line. One stack here, the second stack big, huge damage. So 1 sec. They come back to back in pairs, but then he'll do a couple casts and then he'll go right back to doing it. He does these very, very often. So he's already doing it again. Right? Very often. These come in very, very often. So you need to be on your toes here. And again, a second beam, if you pop like a bunch of big defensives, you might be able to live. Like I was able to live with Survival Instincts plus Scale, a second hit, that kind of thing. But it's like, it's rough. And they happen very, very often. So you need to be on your toes here. Constantly taunting pretty much. Because yeah, he does it a lot. Like Lihuvim, he won't move mid-cast. Right, so you can taunt while the cast on your co-tank is going off and be just fine. So that's definitely the play. And again, it happens very quickly and it happens even faster in phase 3. So you want to be just very on top of your taunts in this phase. On normal, just kind of place these, just stay stationary, right? You don't want to strafe anybody by accident. They do a decent amount of damage. They may not kill someone, but they'll do a big chunk of damage. So you just want to make sure that you're kind of stationary. You're not murdering any of your raid mates with that beam. But on Heroic, though, you can see there's a bunch of these motes on the outside. Now, these motes, you can see there, you can touch them to knock them back. If they touch Halondrus, it deals a ton of raid damage. So you're just kind of babysitting. They deal a pulse of damage when they touch anybody. So ideal for tanks to kind of be touching. You see me leaving there to just kind of babysit those orbs. Very, very good for tanks to be doing that because, of course, they are the tankiest people in the raid. So they should be soaking those quite a fair bit. But everyone's going to need the help here. As you can see, the number of motes is pretty high. Now on Heroic, some of those motes do have shields, and I'll show you here. Okay, some of those motes have shields. Lots of people just kind of looking around them trying to find which ones have shields. Super easy way that not a lot of people know about to figure it out. Okay, look at these spawns, right? Look at these seismic tremors. These here, the dark brown swirlies. These here, the light swirlies. These light swirlies, again, Heroic only, indicate which motes have a shield. This one will have a shield, and there's going to be another one. I think it's like over here somewhere that has a shield. It's going through the boss. I can't see it. These two will not have a shield. So you can see here. Yeah, there it is. So that we know these two don't have a shield. Those two do. You can pre-position yourself to be lined up with these motes to hit them. That's what the shield looks like, by the way. That like orby thing around it. So you don't have to strafe these beams across people because you see the shield at the last minute. Look at where those light colored swirlies are. That's where you need to position yourself as a tank so you can hit those with the beam. Other things to note, just during the intermission, let's move forward a little here. He does kind of spam Lance at the active tank during the intermission, as you see here, just kind of spamming it at me. So just be aware, you are going to still be taking pretty significant physical damage in this phase. So it's definitely a little bit painful. Probably the hardest hitting boss, I think, out of the all the bosses so far on Heroic anyways. So just be aware you are being hit in this phase. But then let's talk about kind of babysitting the motes again real quick. So I think I want to talk about Reclaim here. So Reclaim is, he's just going to kind of do a bunch of pulsing raid damage and pull all these motes in super fast. And again, this is an ideal spot for a tank to babysit orbs. You can see here, don't recommend taking in human form, wrong keybind, but you see I'm here, I'm just babysitting all these orbs because everyone is taking pretty heavy damage during this phase. And so me taking a little bit of extra damage from eating these orbs is not dangerous for me, whereas it could be dangerous for someone else. So as many orbs as you can soak in that phase as a tank is going to be really, really beneficial. And then I want to show you that phase 3, how it's much, much faster. Here we go. Phase 3, you have these swirlies. You have to kind of walk through this full line and look at these beams. So there's the first beam. Obviously, they come in pairs, so second beam on me, and again, taunting mid-beam. That goes out, and next beam is already going to come out right after this lance. And it just continues that way the entire phase. Just beam, beam, couple second break, beam, beam, couple second break, beam, beam. It happens very, very frequently in this phase, and there's a ton more motes to deal with. No motes are shielded in this third phase, as a heads up. You only have to do that in the first and the second phase, so you can spend a lot more time kind of babysitting these motes in this phase because you are just stationary. You don't want to strafe this beam at all in this last phase because everyone is kind of worried taking these motes. And so the tanks are kind of assigned positions here on each side of the boss, and they deal with like a bunch of the motes here. And of course, just kind of keep that beam stationary so you're not murdering any of your friends. That is it though. my tank tips for the first 7 bosses in Sepulcher on normal and heroic difficulty. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I'll be putting out a similar guide for both Anduin and the 3 unreleased raid bosses, so make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Also going to be putting out guides, tank tip guides to the mythic bosses. So again, subscribe to the channel, get notified when those videos gets posted. Really helps me out, so appreciate everyone that does that. If you have any questions regarding these bosses here, you can drop a comment down below or check me out on my Twitch channel where I do high mythic plus keys and mythic rating from a tank POV. So stop by. That's Tactics on Twitch. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.